Early morning at the beautiful Tuanshan Reservoir on the outskirts of Lijiang, and as the mists begin to dissipate in the warm air, race organisers and local Nashi dancers and musicians are already hard at work preparing for the start of Day 2 of the Mile 7 Outdoor Quest 2000. With the race beginning at 9 a.m, the 23 teams have had a relatively relaxed morning. Most are choosing to snatch some sleep on the short journey to the start line. And rest is what they need, because Day 1 had seen them test themselves to the limit in an epic contest. The 149-kilometre challenge began gently enough with a run and a mental agility test in Lijiang's old town. The Finnish teams of K2 and reigning champions Nokia Adventure took the early lead during a 9.7-kilometre mountain bike section to Larsjö Lake. Team number 6, Beaver Creek, were amongst the chasing pack. But as the athletes loaded their bikes for 3.8 kilometres of lake paddling in native boats, there was little to choose between the leaders.
Next came an exhilarating descent to the Yangtze River, with mountain bike specialist Team Beaver Creek leading the way. At the bottom of the road, there was a short adventure skills section to the top of the town above Shigu Harbour. On the tough 45-kilometre kayaking leg along the Yangtze, Team Beaver Creek took the early lead. But by the time they emerged for the spectacular run along Tiger Leaping Gorge, they'd been caught by Team Nokia Adventure and Team Australian Beef. And it was Australian Beef, Team 5, including legendary triathlete Paula Newby-Fraser, that held the lead during the 31-kilometre mountain biking section as they approached the final transition. With Beaver Creek in hot pursuit, Australian Beef began to tire rapidly on the tough trail running section. And the reigning champions of Team 1, Nokia Adventure, were also closing in. In the end, it came down to a final sprint, and at the finish, it was Beaver Creek who crossed the line first after more than 10 hours of tough racing. Just 2 seconds behind them were the reigning Finnish champions, Nokia Adventure, with French team EADS Bow number 2 in third. Australian Beef finally had to settle for 4th place.
Day 2 would be far shorter, but after the exertions of the previous 24 hours, there were some stiff muscles that needed to be loosened before the action could begin. With the air already warming a clear blue sky, it also looked as if heat could be a factor.
It's pretty hot here in Lijiang. Having fair skin, I gotta really cover up.
Yeah, just
the race leaders, Beaver Creek, were in confident mood.
you know, everybody's the walking wounded this morning, but our teammates, they've got a lot of experience, and we've had a lot of discussions over our meals and our recovery, and I think that we're going to have a good day.
10 minutes to start. 10 minutes to start.
With the start of the race approaching, Team Mile 7 were deep in discussion about the day's tactics. Although female athlete Zhang Hongzhu was unusually subdued. Despite the handicap of a broken bicycle chain on the previous day, Team Nokia Adventure had already given notice that they were not about to give up their title without a battle. Race veterans Mika Hirvonen and Petri Forsman were making sure that the Finns' preparation was as meticulous as ever.
We try to do fastest possible transitions, because it will be important today, because the day is short and so many transitions. And today we have a couple of quite good disciplines for us, skating, and let's see what happens.
For many of the teams, adventure racing is a way of life. But for Team Friction Free's famous triathlete Scott Molina, it had so far been a very different experience.
It's a lot harder than I thought it would be, but I am still enjoying it. Not the difficulty of it, but just where we are, the people, the faces, the Chinese along the side of the road. That's just been incredible, just being here. But next time I'll just come as a regular old tourist.
But today wouldn't be one for the tourists. Although less than half the distance of day one, the action, which would include all 7 sports in a single day for the first time, would be fast and furious. First would come a tough 16-kilometre team biathlon on and off-road to stir those aching limbs into action. Next would come a 5-kilometre kayaking section of the Tuanshan Reservoir that would include 2 portages. The third leg would be the most technically demanding, a hilly inline skating loop on the Lining Highway. Then it's back on the water for 4 kilometres of lake paddling in native boats. The 5th section is a testing 15.9 kilometre mountain bike ride with some significant climbs and descents. Then comes a beautiful adventure skills section, including canyoneering and rappelling, before the teams take to the road for an 11-kilometre run back into the finish in Lijiang's old town.
With the seconds ticking down to 9 a.m, the teams lined up at the start in the order in which they'd finished day one. It was an unlucky start for number 13, TeamQuamnet.com, as a puncture halted their progress before they'd left the reservoir wall. And Team Mild 7 were off to a slow start, with a concerned look on their faces. Tactics are all important in the team biathlon, with athletes having to decide just how far to ride before dropping their bikes for their teammates who are chasing on foot. As the teams approached the turnoff from the new Lining Highway to the old road, there was a surprise leader in Margan Arata of Team San Jose Pedicab. But the 36-year-old American was out in front only because her team had decided to allow her to ride the entire course to protect her sore knee. Team Nokia Adventure were already looking ominously strong as the tarmac road gave way to more rugged terrain, which began to climb into the foothills north of the reservoir. Beaver Creek and the yellow race leaders' vests were in the leading group, along with team number 12, EADS Beau number 2 from France. Until the race started, Nokia Adventure had been something of an unknown quantity. Of last year's champions, only Petri Forsman, a 32-year-old sports instructor, and 27-year-old policeman Mika Hirvonen remained. They'd been joined by 2 newcomers, Jukka Pinola, a 23-year-old marketing student, and 24-year-old Elina Markki-Rautiala, a member of the Finnish junior cross-country ski team. So far, they'd proved worthy additions. As the Finns began to make their move, a very different story was beginning to unfold at the back of the field. Jiang Hongzhu, who'd looked so strong the day before, was clearly experiencing some difficulties as Team Mild 7 began to fall farther and further behind.
At the start of the technical off-road section, Petri Forsman's team were passed by EADS Beau No. 2 of France. As the athletes headed into the tricky canyons and bushes, adaptability and teamwork will be essential in navigating the tricky terrain. Isabelle Mouton-Micheli, the reigning triathlon world champion, who finished 7th at the Sydney Olympics, was showing faultless off-road technique as her team, EADS Beau No. 2, edged into the lead. If any of the teams were expecting day 2 to provide a gentle start, they were mistaken. In the thin air at 8,000 feet above sea level, the team biathlon was becoming a fast, tough examination of individual and team fitness. It was Team EADS Beau No. 2 who emerged first from the off-road section for the journey back to the reservoir. But both Nokia Adventure and Beaver Creek were just seconds behind. After just under an hour and 7 minutes, it was Team EADS Beau No. 2 who swept into the transition area in first place. Less than a minute behind, Nokia Adventure and Beaver Creek were closing in on the leaders. With 6 transitions during the day, efficient clothing and equipment changes will be vital, and the French team were producing a speedy changeover to the kayaks. As the chasing pack entered the crowded reservoir wall, quick transitions were becoming more difficult. Team EADS Beau No. 2 were away first on the 5-kilometre kayaking leg. But with a whole day of hard racing still to come, and with Nokia Adventure and Beaver Creek just behind, the French team would have to fight hard to stay out in front.
As French team EADS Beau No. 2 set out on the second leg of day 2, they were having to paddle hard to maintain their slender lead of less than a minute on the 5-kilometre kayaking course. Just behind them were the overall race leaders Beaver Creek and reigning champions Nokia Adventure. The kayaking, however, wouldn't be confined to the crystal clear waters of the Tuan Shan Reservoir. The stage included 2 portages, the first of which was a tough uphill climb covering 200 meters of rugged terrain. First to dock was the kayak of Olympic triathlete Isabelle Mouton-Micheli. Beaver Creek and Nokia Adventure were snapping at their heels. The traditional method of portaging is for the 2 paddlers to shoulder their kayak, but Nokia Adventure had decided to let female athlete Alina Maki-Rautiala carry the paddles, while Petri Forsman, Mika Hirvonen and Jukka Pinola dealt with the kayaks. It was asking a lot of the 3 Finnish men on the rugged terrain, and during what appeared to be their first tactical mistake, they were passed by both Team No. 2, Eco Internet, and race leaders Beaver Creek. But Nokia Adventure aren't reigning champions for nothing, and with the situation demanding urgent action, Captain Petri Forsman took it, shouldering the kayak alone in an incredible show of strength. While the leaders were forging ahead on the portage, back on the team biathlon course, another tough challenge was taking place. It had been clear from the start of the day that Team Mile 7's female athlete Zhang Hongzhu was having difficulties, but she'd bravely tried to push herself on, supported by her teammates. Yet it soon became clear that no amount of bravery could alter the fact that she was still dehydrated from her previous day's exertions. And to ensure her safety, race doctor James Oliver was called to her assistance.
How's she doing? Can you help me?
She's been not so good.
Okay.
Rehydration and refueling are crucial factors in adventure racing, never more so than here at altitude in Lijiang. After just a few moments, Dr. Oliver's diagnosis was made. Zhang Hongzhu had challenged herself to the limit, and Team Mile 7 would be unable to continue in the official classification.
The level of moisture in the air here is very low, and people are, as well as sweating, they're breathing out a lot of moisture, and then because it's dry in the air, they're losing more than they would otherwise. You become dehydrated, your blood volume decreases, your ability to give oxygen to your major organs and your muscles decreases, and your performance suffers. I know some runners who set their watch to alarm every 5 minutes so they can drink. It is much better to take electrolyte solution than water. Your kidneys find it much easier to balance up the electrolytes in your body if you're taking in a bit of sugar and a potassium and sodium, and that enables your intracellular space to expand and your cells to work properly.
While Team Mile 7 came to terms with their situation, the leaders, EADS Bow number 2, were already at the far easier second portage and within a few hundred meters of the end of the kayaking leg. As teams Beaver Creek, Eco Internet and Nokia Adventure reached the end of the second portage together, they were finding space at the put-in sight hard to find. For the Finns, this hadn't been a particularly good leg. An overturned kayak, adding to the time they'd lost on the first portage. But the leaders weren't too far ahead, and the off-road inline skating was still to come. EADS Bow number 2 arrived just 2 minutes ahead of the 3 chasing teams, and transition times were now becoming vital. As Nokia Adventure arrived at the dam wall, the French quartet had already completed the short 500-meter sprint to the skate transition area. For Alina Makirutiala and the rest of Team Nokia Adventure, the off-road inline skating is usually seen as an opportunity to gain time on their opponents.
Fun, guys.
Yeah, me too.
Darren, this way.
For Isabelle Mouton-Micheli, this would be her first time racing on skates. In fact, she'd only learned to use them after returning from the Sydney Olympics. But if the Finns or anyone else were expecting the French leaders to struggle, they were in for quite a surprise. Next out of the transition area, the Flying Finns, recognised as the best skaters in the race. In third place were Day 1 leaders, Team Beaver Creek. Isabelle Mouton-Micheli was receiving a helping hand from her teammates. But for such an inexperienced skater, she was showing remarkable technical ability.
As with most sports, technique is the key to success. Team Malaysia's coach, Iro Kako, is from Finland, where the popularity of cross-country skiing has given their athletes an advantage when it comes to adapting to the demands of skating. But it's not all about what you do with your feet and legs.
Using the poles, you you can use the hands and swing yourself up and again down, up and down. And if you are weak with your hands, you can bend your hands and use only your upper body. So you kind of say good morning, good morning, good morning. And this way you get up, down, up, straight up and down, up and down. And if you're going uphill, you can do a little bit more faster going up and down.
Some of the teams were taking advantage of their technical know-how to make a move up the field. Team C2Summit.com glided effortlessly from 8th to 6th place. Not surprisingly, the Finns of Team K2 also made a move from 6th at the start of the skate all the way up to 4th place. But others were finding it more challenging on the gentle slopes of the Li Ning Highway. The difficulty of this section was shown by the fact that two of the greatest female athletes of all time, Paula Newby-Fraser of Team Australian Beef and Erin Baker of Friction Free, were finding the going tough. Day 1 leaders Team Beaver Creek, on the other hand, were putting in the third best time on the skating leg. But the leaders Team EADS Bow No. 2 and second place Nokia Adventure were pulling away from them with some expert skating. After 16 kilometers of tough racing, Team EADS Bow No. 2 had somewhat unexpectedly maintained their lead, with Nokia Adventure making up just 45 seconds on the skating leg. As they set out for their 4 kilometers of lake paddling in native boats, 1 minute 15 seconds ahead of the Finns, the leaders were beginning to believe that the day could belong to France.
With the leaders already out on the Tuanshan Reservoir, Team Beaver Creek, wearing the yellow vest of the race leaders, set off in pursuit. Just 4 minutes behind them came Team K2 in 4th. The skating leg hadn't been kind to Team Australian Beef, and they dropped back to 8th place. Up ahead, Team Nokia Adventure were closing in on Team EADS Bow No. 2, who had started the lake paddling section in the lead. After the withdrawal of Team Mild 7, Beijing Self-Discovery were now the leading Asian team. For the spectators, the native boats on the beautiful reservoir made picturesque viewing. But for the athletes, the paddling was hard work. With the experience of Petri Forsman and Mika Hirvonen, Team Nokia Adventure had powered ahead of EADS Bow No. 2, completing the 4-kilometer course nearly 6 minutes faster than their rivals. By the time the French team arrived, their 1 minute 15 lead had become a 4 minute 26 deficit.
Grab your bike for the mountain bike. Now watch for the sign, okay?
Team Beaver Creek had also gained time and were now less than 4 minutes behind EADS Bow No. 2, just over 8 minutes behind Nokia Adventure. For the first time in the day, the lead had swapped hands as Nokia Adventure powered their way through the lake paddling section in the quickest time of the day. The Finns had also demolished the 2-second lead that Beaver Creek had gained on day 1.
For Team Beijing Self-Discovery, the nature of day 2 had changed dramatically. While the 3 remaining members of Team Mile 7 continued to race unofficially after the withdrawal of Zhang Hongzhu, the foursome in blue had now become the focus for local support and the leading Asian team. With their lineup having been finalized in Dali only a few days before the race, it was crucial that they spent as much time together as possible to forge the team spirit that would be needed. Fortunately, the most outgoing team in Lijiang seemed determined from the outset to enjoy every minute of their outdoor quest experience.
This race is absolutely fantastic fun. We've come here to make sure that we enjoy ourselves, and we're happy just to be here.
It's what we all love doing. Team captain Wang Junbo had to wait until the Team Mile 7 selection process was complete to find out who the rest of his lineup would be. But once Feng Ling and Kung Xianglin had been confirmed, they were accepted with open arms.
We 2 old Beijing team members would like to say welcome to our new colleagues, and we know that once the race starts, we'll be very strong. What do you say?
Team Beijing Self-Discovery were now 40 minutes behind the leaders, Nokia Adventure, but still in an impressive 11th place overall, and nearly 5 minutes ahead of nearest Asian challengers, Team Salomon East Wind. As Team EADS Bow number 2 set off on the chase after Team Nokia Adventure, on the 5th leg of the race, Team Beaver Creek were hoping that their expertise on mountain bikes would allow them to close the 8-minute gap on the Finnish leaders. With a chasing group of teams, including Eco Internet, also hoping to make ground on the leaders, there would have to be some outstanding riding over the 15.9-kilometer course, which was being negotiated in the heat of the afternoon sun. From the wall of the Tuanshan Reservoir, the riders headed south before a steep paved climb to the east and a tough technical descent back to the transition area. But if anyone was going to make a significant move, it was likely to be Beaver Creek. And on the steep uphill section, the Americans passed EADS Bow number 2 to move into 2nd place. Up ahead, it appeared as if Nokia Adventure were tiring in the heat.
It's good. Very good.
Mika Hirvonen seemed relaxed, but his team's lead was being eaten away by the surge from Beaver Creek. Still in the lead, the Finns set off on the steep technical section back towards the Tuanshan Reservoir. But Beaver Creek were now closing in, and the terrain was tailor-made for their expert riding skills. As the backmarkers set off from the transition area on the outward part of the loop, the top 5 teams were all heading onto the final section of the mountain biking course. By now, Beaver Creek were gaining in confidence and sensing that they could retain the yellow vest for a second day. Nokia Adventure, on the other hand, were looking less and less sure of themselves. An unusual situation for the supremely confident Finns. Just a few minutes behind, EADS Bow number 2 were sensing that they might still have a chance to win the day, though they were being put under pressure by the fast-improving Finns of Team K2.
As the lead teams re-entered the transition area on the dam wall, it was the yellow vests of Team Beaver Creek that appeared first, having taken an incredible 10 minutes off Team Nokia Adventure to go into first place. They now had an advantage of more than 1 minute 30 as they headed into the most spectacular and nerve-wracking section of the day. At this stage, all the teams had to fight the urge to hurry their changeover. Equipment checks and refueling are an important part of race tactics.
I'm cleaning up.
With a ropework section ahead, any forgotten piece of harness could lead to the team having to return all the way to the transition area. Team Nokia Adventure were chasing hard, but for Team Beaver Creek, there were now just 2 legs between them and a second successive yellow jersey.
At the start of the adventure run, Team Beaver Creek were just 1 minute and 38 seconds ahead of Team Nokia Adventure. But with 58.5 kilometers already covered, they were going to have to keep tired legs moving quickly to maintain their narrow advantage over the reigning champions. Four minutes behind Team Nokia Adventure were EADS Bow number 2. The adventure skill section consists of a 4-kilometer run with a 300-meter elevation gain up through a beautiful river canyon. With their home training ground in Colorado's Rocky Mountain Range, Beaver Creek didn't appear too worried by the slippery rocks and chilly mountain water. Team Nokia Adventure's captain, Petri Forsman, was pushing his team forward, aware that they needed to close the gap before the final run leg to the finish. In a field of magnificent athletes, the Finnish captain was proving once again that he has few peers. And once again, the reigning champions were proving to be master technicians, with each team member taking his or her turn to push the group to new levels of performance. Team EADS Bow number 2, who'd been leading until Team Nokia Adventure overtook them during the native paddle, were making hard work of the uneven terrain, but there was still only a few minutes between them and the leading 2. In the hot afternoon sun and at 8,000 feet above sea level, Team Beaver Creek arrived at the base of the rugged cliff face, where they would negotiate the most challenging part of the adventure skills, fixed rope rappelling. Both physical and mental strength would be required to handle this stage.
Come on, come on!
As Team Beaver Creek began the ascent to the top of the rock face, their Finnish pursuers were closing in. Team EADS Bow number 2 were also on their way up to the craggy escarpment. But with the 2 teams ahead having established an almost unassailable lead, the French quartet were showing a certain amount of caution.
At the top of the rock face, two experienced climbers, John Howard and Rebecca Rush, were on hand to make sure that every team was properly clipped onto the ropes. With the safety of all the competitors being the primary concern, nothing goes unchecked. Some of the teams are experienced in rappelling, but others need the reassurance of a pair of experts before they set out on their descent.
That equipment is super safe, guys. Don't worry. Be confident in your equipment, okay? And even if you let go of the rope, you're not going to go anywhere.
Hold on, guys.
Just right there.
First away on the descent are Team Beaver Creek.
Together.
Break hand on, Dave.
Together. Break hands, guys. This one.
Good job, guys. Okay, Dave, turn around. Turn around, feet to the left.
Yeah, turn your back to it. Turn totally back. Face the wall.
Break hand, always on the rope. Dave, never let go of your right hand. Let go of your left. Let go of your left.
There's a little bit of a jump here. Together, guys, together.
Teamwork is essential on the adventure skills sections, with the more experienced climbers making sure that their teammates are confident that they are safe.
Never let go of that right break hand. Okay.
Team Nokia Adventure were less than 100 meters behind the leaders, and a swift descent would close the gap even further.
Okay, and unclip from that one now.
Petri Forsman was again leading the way for the Finns. He had seen it all before. But for the younger members of his team, this was a new race experience.
And now just walk around to Rebecca. That's fine.
Don't let go of that. Never let go of that, okay?
For once, the Finns were looking less than assured. Jukka Penola was dangling awkwardly, and Elina Mäki-Rautiala was treating the descent with understandable caution. But newcomers to the discipline could take heart. Almost everyone has first descent nerves. Veteran racers Barry Siff and Liz Caldwell of Team Friction Free live in a climber's paradise in the Rocky Mountains. But even the most experienced man in the race had to go through his own baptism of fire.
I'd never even had a harness on in my life, and I just kept making every possible excuse to not get on the rope. Well, let me get your picture. Let me see how beautiful this is. Let's talk a little bit, you know. Finally, my team said, let's go, we're getting on, and just got on and traversed across that whole rock. It was such a rush. I mean, it's great. Hooked ever since.
Hey, that works good.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah, I would think once you get your weight on it.
Well, yeah, once the weight's on it.
Sure.
Confidence in the rope, confidence in their skills, knowing they know they're safe, and knowing what to do.
Each team should kind of designate somebody who's their best climber to sort of oversee things, double check everybody, make sure, you know, you're not so exhausted that you've forgotten to do something.
Being aware of the dangers associated with rope climbing is perhaps the first step to becoming confident on the rock face, and even the most accomplished climbers take care on the adventure skills section. As the rest of the chasing pack, led by Team EADS Bow number 2, started to make their way down the cliff descent, there was just a moment to enjoy some breathtaking views over the area around the Tuan Shan Reservoir.
Feeling great, huh? Nice view.
It's nice up here.
Oh, a little bit tired.
Mika Sakane from Team Salomon East Wind was looking understandably apprehensive. But others were enjoying the adrenaline rush.
This is fun.
You are such a stud.
Hello?
After the withdrawal of Jang Honju, Team Mild 7's other 3 members had chosen to continue racing in the unofficial classification.
Right there. Yep. You want me to hook it in, or you want to do it? No, you do it. Okay. Are you kidding me?
As other teams began the tricky rope descent, Team Beaver Creek were on the trail run home to Tuan Shan Reservoir, where they'd make one final transition before the final 11-kilometer run to the administration office building in the old town of Lijiang. But the Americans were far from assured of victory. Team Nokia Adventure had been in the top 3 throughout the day, and though they'd occasionally appeared below their best, they were now gathering themselves for one final push for victory. Team EADS Bow number 2 was still in contention, but the French were now looking as if they'd have to settle for 3rd place. As they approached the Tuan Shan Reservoir, Team Beaver Creek had increased their lead to more than 5 minutes over Nokia Adventure. In the transition area, there was still time for some last-minute refueling before the slightly downhill 11-kilometer run to Lijiang. Team Beaver Creek may have held the advantage, but day 2 was far from over.
No extra luggage on this run. You have water in your thing?
Yep.
Dave, you
got all your bracelets? I've got 2.
Do you have enough water here?
I didn't lose one. You need a water bottle.
Hey, Mike, you need that harness. Grab that strap real quick. Mike, strap off of that.
I'll get that. I'll get it. Let's go. Let's go.
As Team Beaver Creek left the final transition area, their lead over Team Nokia Adventure was 5 minutes 10 seconds. With just 11 kilometers of running to go, the Finns made a quick transition and set off in pursuit of the American leaders. Less than 4 minutes behind Nokia, Isabelle Mouton-Micheli and Team EADS Bow number 2 were comfortably ahead of the rest in 3rd place. But they would have to run an unbelievable final leg to catch the leaders. Team K2 from Finland made the final descent to the transition area in 4th place, ahead of Paula Newbury-Fraser's team, Australian Beef. But in the late afternoon sunshine, all eyes were on the leaders from Beaver Creek. The 4 teammates had already shown themselves to be formidable competitors, with professional triathlete Kirsten Wurler, the star of the previous day's racing. 36-year-old Mike Pigg was looking for his 2nd Outdoor Quest title, having won the first race in 1997. Along with Mike Kloser and Dave Harrison, they had so far shared the limelight with the Finns of Nokia Adventure, and another sprint finish between the 2 rivals was beginning to look a distinct possibility. But Petri Fosman alone had more experience of what it takes to win this unique race than the entire Beaver Creek team.
As the run into Lijiang reached the midway stage, the Americans were about to make a crucial miscalculation. On a long day of racing, every eventuality needs to be planned for, but the timing of Beaver Creek's bathroom stop allowed the Finns to make their move and take the lead again. With just a few kilometers to go, Nokia began to increase the gap, while Beaver Creek was still comfortably ahead of 3rd place team EADS Bow number 2. If the sight of Lijiang wasn't enough to spur the athletes on, then the crowds lining the streets did just that. The Finns were now powering ahead and hoping to build up a substantial time advantage to take into day 3. entered the streets of the old city, the 5-minute deficit they carried into the run was now almost a 5-minute advantage. Beaver Creek's first-day lead might have been gone, but Dave Harrison was still enjoying the journey. EADS bow number 2 had made up more than 6 minutes on the Americans, but was still in 3rd place as Nokia Adventure entered the finish area well clear of the rest. A still smiling Dave Harrison led Beaver Creek in just over 4 minutes later, after nearly 7 hours of tough and emotional racing. In 3rd place, only 2 minutes further back, were Team EADS bow number 2, including a very tired but very happy Isabelle Mouton-Micheli. As the athletes began to unwind, there was time to reflect on another extraordinary day of physical challenge that had tested them to the limits.
Mountain bike, I wish the whole thing was like that. The last run was long. It was nice before, but when you are so tired, it's
Olympian was still excited about her day, the leading captains were analysing their team's performances.
It was fun. I went back and forth, for sure. I was hoping we could minimize losses a little more on the run, but these guys are so fast.
Down here in the mountain bike was quite poor for us.
Well, we had our share of time losses in the skate and around the end, so yeah, hopefully we can find a weakness in these guys. I don't know though. It's hard. Without much more mountain biking, technical mountain biking, we got our work really cut out for us.
17 minutes after Nokia Adventure had crossed the line, fellow Finns Team K2 came home in 4th place. The most popular local finishers of the day were Team Beijing Self-Discovery in 11th place.
The four of us, we're representing China now. And that's something that drives us on.
With the afternoon shadows lengthening, the traditional yellow vest ceremony took place. This time, the lineup on the podium had a very familiar appearance, as Petri Forsman, Mika Hirvonen, Jukka Pinola and Alida Mäki-Rautiala stepped forward to take the honours. On a day where speed and teamwork had been crucial, Team Nokia Adventure had reached the finish line more than 4 minutes ahead of Beaver Creek, whose 2-second first-day advantage had been wiped away on the overall leaderboard. 10 minutes now separated the top 3. Of the Asian teams, Beijing Self-Discovery in 11th were more than 2 hours behind the Finns. On day 2, the lead had constantly changed hands, but the reigning champions had once more shown their resolve. If they continued to race like that, it would take a superhuman effort to catch them. Ahead of them lies one of the toughest days in the history of the race. Join us next time as the drama, action and incident unfolds in the outdoor quest in some of the world's most dramatic